Welcome, Star Wars fans, to episode 140 of Tatooine Sons. It's almost impossible to put into words what we all experienced last Friday while watching Chapter 16 of The Mandalorian. Wow.
Yeah,
that was freaking weird.
Luke Skywalker.
That's all we're going to talk about. We're just going to talk about Luke Skywalker. There's nothing else.
That's the only thing that's really done. What about you?
Baby Yoda's gone.
I know.
Grogu.
What do you do about it?
The rescue answered some questions, but created many more.
So many questions.
We'll do our best to try to answer these questions, and then Sam, I guess, will be given 60 seconds to scream about the Book of Boba Fett.
We freaking got a show, y'all.
Are you going to be okay?
No.
Have you recovered yet?
Nope.
All right.
I'm still working on it.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
It's time for Tatooine Sons.
It's true. All of it.
What is the name of the porg on the Millennium Falcon?
Force is strong in my family.
What do you think his name is? It's a big moment.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Maybe Turbis?
Do or do not. There is no try.
Turbis? Pablo, if you're listening to this live stream, that porg's name is now Turbis. It's a good Star Wars name.
We're not done yet.
These guys recorded an awesome podcast called Tatooine Sons. Everybody was amazing.
Welcome, Star Wars fans. This is Tatooine Sons, your weekly look into all things Star Wars from the unique perspective of a father sharing his love for the amazing space fantasy saga with his two sons. I am BB Nate, and I'm joined first by my brother, Samuel the Hutt.
Chucha Star Wars fans, thanks for tuning in. And if you're not a Star Wars fan, and get over it, we're getting a Boba Fett show. You're going to watch it. You're going to love it. It's going to be great.
That's all you care about.
Yes.
The post-credit scene is the only thing you want to talk about today.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
And of course, you can't have Star Wars without bizarre father figures. So on that note, here's my dad's bow-tie Jedi guy.
But we're not just me. We got a guest again.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm back.
Hi, Savannah.
Well, you want the bad news or the really bad news?
She's glutton for punishment. She came back for a second episode. I wasn't sure if we were going to let her after the Turbis Grogu thing, Baby Yoda thing.
Sammy insisted.
Yeah, Sammy insisted. Well, he thinks she's pretty special, so she is pretty special. So, what'd you think about? Well, just real quick, what'd you think about the finale of Mandalorian?
Well, I mean, we watched it twice in a row.
Like back to back?
Yeah, literally, we turned it off, turned it back on.
Yeah,
and I'm kind of wanting to see it again. So, yeah.
All right, well, that's the beauty of Disney Plus. You can go watch it all over again. So, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
This is so cool. It's just, this is Monday. By the time you guys listen to it, it's Monday. And, Friday we'll have Christmas and then a new year's starting.
We're doomed.
And, we've got a brand new fourth season.
This is madness.
Can you believe that we're going to have a fourth season of this show? That's because we don't have to have anybody telling us whether or not it's renewed. We just make a decision. So, anyway, we're going to have a fourth season, and we're going to start that season with Dan Z from Coffee with Kenobi. You okay with the water bottle over there, BB Nate? Yeah, I heard that clicking all over. He's opening that water bottle. You good? Is that high quality H2O?
High quality H2O.
Yeah. Thank you, Waterboy. That's so
great movie.
That's a good movie.
Dan Z and I is going to join us. We're going to talk a little bit of High Republic hot takes to start out the year, and then it looks like we're going to have Pete Fletzer from Around the Galaxy, and I've reached out to some others that we're going to have on the show, and that's the whole goal of this new season. It's one thing to hear us give our hot takes, but we want to hear what some of the other most amazing people in Star Wars think about these hot takes, and that's one of the reasons we've got Savannah on the show this last week. She's one of the most amazing people in our Star Wars world.
Wow, I didn't even pay you to say that.
I know. Well, you're going to do a review, so I got to be I got to be really careful that we do things right. So that'll be starting up in January. But we've got that's next year. We've got a lot more to talk about with this. I don't know,
this Mando thing. You think we should talk about
epic
Mando?
Season 2 finale for The Mandalorian. Last episode, we gave lots of predictions about what we believed could happen in the Season 2 finale. And most of those we got terribly
I
wrong.
didn't get to see Baby Yoda with his Beskar armor.
I know, you may never see it, but there was actually a couple. Savannah got one right, and then I got my prediction sure to go wrong.
That wasn't really sure to go wrong. You kind of were expecting it.
No, I wasn't.
Yes, you
we'll talk
were.
about it. It went right. We've got a lot more of that to talk about, and that's all up next on Hot Takes.
This is where the fun begins.
Well, you want the bad news or the really bad news?
Impressive. Every word in that sentence was wrong.
All right. Reactions. We'll talk about details on this. I'm going to start with ladies first. What was your general overarching reaction to the season 2 finale of The Mandalorian, Miss Savvy?
Oh, as soon as those credits started to roll, I'm pretty sure my mouth was hanging open for like 5 minutes. Like,
It took you that long? My mouth
Yes.
that was like the last 15 minutes of the entire episode.
okay, yes, that's
so-
true too. That's true too. I mean, spoiler. As soon as I saw that TIE fighter come in. Oh.
Did you know?
Oh
X-Wing?
yes. I mean, yeah. Sorry, X-wing. Yeah, like as soon as I saw it, I was like, "Oh crap, it's going down."
It's going down. All right, BB Nate, what did you think? What was your reaction?
It was okay.
It was okay. That's kind of his reaction to just about everything. This is how he reacted. This is funny. If you're just tuning into this show and you maybe haven't listened to it for a long time, Savannah may not have even heard this story yet. So, September or so of 2019, I finally get this message on Twitter, from one of our Twitter followers. And she's like, have you checked out StarWars.com? And I'm like, what? She's like, he's canon. He's canon. Turbis is canon. She's freaking out on this message. It's like all caps, exclamation points. And so I go to Turbis.com. I'm at work. I mean, I go to StarWars.com. Excuse me. I go to StarWars.com and for like 10 minutes, I'm just standing there. I'm at work. I'm training a team of new salespeople and I'm standing there and I can't talk because I'm looking at it on StarWars.com that Turbis is officially canon, with it. And then I call Nathan and he's babysitting some dogs or dog sitting. I guess that's what they call it, right? Dog sitting. And I explained it to him later and I'm like, what do you think? And he's like, that's cool. I'm like, what? So that's kind of that's your reaction?
I mean, I don't get very
up and down.
No, I mean, it was a great episode. Very well done. It got me into feels when it needed to. And I was also cheering when I needed to. It was a great episode. I kind of wish the Jedi was Ezra.
Okay, we'll talk about that. That's an interesting take that you mentioned on that. What about you, Samuel the Hutt?
I mean, the episode was it was fine. It did what it needed to do. But can we talk about the post-credit scene?
No.
I promise sometime we'll talk about the post-credits scene.
All
But
right,
right now,
all
talk about the
right.
main episode. What did you think about that?
I thought it was a great finale. I think it did everything that a finale should have. It topped the first season's finale. I loved it. I'm so happy with where they.
So for both of you, all three of you actually, did you prefer the season 1 finale or the season 2
Oh, that's
finale?
easy. Go ahead, Savannah's got her hand in the air.
Okay, yeah, I actually thought about this. I was thinking that this finale honestly had a lot more closure to it than the first one, which
Yeah.
I appreciate, and like my mom, the first season, she was like freaking out because she just wanted to make sure that everything was okay. She hates cliffhangers of any kind. And this one, of course, there's questions that we can be asking, but at least we kind of have some closure on what's been going on.
There's a big question that and we saw her yesterday. We saw her today at church, and both times, it's like all she wanted to talk to me about was what happened to Baby Grogu.
Yeah,
and
where
what does this mean?
is
Will
it?
I ever see Baby Grogu? I'm going to do that. That's the right way
It's
for me
actually
to
a pretty
do
good
it.
compromise.
Baby Grogu.
Well, then
It still works.
just go to
I mean,
Baby
it's-
Groda.
It's accurate.
Here's where I go with it.
Yeah.
It's like
I mean, he is a baby.
In my head, I'm still thinking Baby Groot with some stuff. So,
Awesome.
Okay, I thought it was unbelievable. I mean, when I sat here last week when we recorded our predictions episode and I gave my prediction sure to go wrong that Luke Skywalker would come up and take Baby Yoda to train him as his Padawan. BB Nate, I know you're thinking that I expected this to happen. I had heard it as what if this ever happened. And a second that I heard what if this could happen, I thought that would be amazing. I never really believed that would happen in this episode for lots of different reasons.
But you were wanting it.
You
were
it
like
to happen.
gunning for it.
And then
lot.
I just want to say this, and I'm going to say this in a very passive aggressive, but also I'm not going to expose any names so that the innocent will not, or the guilty will not be
Hunted down.
But please, when these types of events happen, don't direct message somebody to where it shows up on their iPhone as a message that they see when they wake up that morning and say, "Can you believe Luke Skywalker is back?" That was horrible to wake up to. So I was guarding everybody from any spoilers the rest of the morning. But when when the X-Wing showed up, it was pretty clear.
Oh yeah, as soon as I saw the X-Wing, I'm like, "Yep, it's happening."
Yeah, so it's awesome. There's a lot of things that happen in this episode. We'll start with you, Samuel. I know that some of the questions on here are listed with different responses in different orders, but I want to start with you on this one. Boba Fett. We had lots of him at the beginning, and then he disappeared for the rest of the show until this like weird after credits thing that they, is this Marvel now? What is this? So
it's amazing. Reed.
It was Peyton Reed. He's a Marvel director.
And Jon Favreau.
Yeah, and Jon Favreau. They threw in a after credits scene like it's the MCU. But, for years, because of Clone Wars, Samuel, we believed that he wasn't a Mandalorian because of some things that I can't remember the Mandalorian official in the Clone Wars that said it, but one of them said it, and he was not exactly a trustworthy source, but everybody assumed that he was telling the truth. And then in chapter 14, we got the impression based on what he said about Jango Fett and all of this that he was a Mandalorian. And then in this episode, he says he's not. He doesn't. Well, Bo-Katan tells him he's not a Mandalorian. He's like, I never said I was a Mandalorian. So how are you? What are you thinking about all that Mandalorian thing?
He's a foundling, right? I think we know that.
But it
says it on his that chain code or whatever. Like you translate it, it says foundling. So his dad was a foundling, and then he was born. I think that's where the confusion comes from, at least on Bo-Katan's part. I think she doesn't think it's official because technically it's not his dad or whatever. It's just him again, basically. It's a clone, right? Mm-hmm. So I think she gets that disconnect because it's like it wasn't passed down. It's not official, right? And his dad was already a foundling in the first place, so it's not it's not as official in that regard as well. So I think
I think that he didn't really grow up in the Mandalorian culture because he leaves in Attack of the Clones at 10, 11, 12 years old or something like that.
Right.
So
I think he was just kind of playing it tough. Like, yeah, I never said I was a Mandalorian or whatever. Like he's just kind of like, I don't need to answer to these people. Like I'm doing my own thing here.
Okay. Savi, do you think that Boba Fett is a Mandalorian or does it even matter?
Oh, it matters. I think back in season 1, whenever I first started really spinning my little gears in my head about Mandalorians and all of these things, because I really didn't have any background on it other than just this series. And so I started wondering about like Boba and Jango and all that stuff. And when I started realizing they had the same armor, I remember asking my dad, I was like, hey, so do you think that they were Mandalorians? And I remember him looking at me and being like, whoa, that's possible, but I honestly don't know. And so I've been wondering for a while. So it's not that I don't care, but I just need someone to tell me.
You still don't feel like it's all that answer?
I want someone to just tell me a solid answer so I can just either rely, because we have the other, like the whole other set of Mandalorians, they don't really care about the whole helmet thing. So just because he takes his helmet off every once in a while or whatever, he's not super religious about it, doesn't mean he's not a Mandalorian, but maybe he is, maybe he isn't. Yeah,
BB Nate, they started or in this season specifically, we learned that there's different factions within Mandalorian culture. The armor in the season 1 kind of talks about this as a creed. These foundlings and the Children of the Watch and that they're adopted into Mandalorian culture and they have their own religious beliefs, which we talked about on our last episode. Bo-Katan seems to have a different position on them than that. Do you think that we have yet to settle what it means to be a Mandalorian, and that's still going to happen in the future of the show?
I think that is. I don't think we've settled it yet. We have no idea. We're as clueless now as we were in the beginning of season 1. We don't know how Mandalorians act very well because now we know that there's 2 different kinds, and we don't know if there are other different kinds, and it's just very confusing on the Mandalorian religion.
Okay.
I think we have to take everything that Bo-Katan says with a bit of a grain of salt because she literally was the sister of the Duchess of Mandalore for a while. So everything she's going to be
her whole life she was a sister because that doesn't.
Well, until her sister died.
Oh, okay. Darth Maul, you're a jerk.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway.
But like she's gonna have this superior attitude about everything. Like she's probably gonna be like a purist almost. Like no, you have to be born a Mandalorian, and that's how you're a Mandalorian. You can't be like brought into it or something.
Yeah, she also thinks you can take your helmet off and it doesn't matter.
Well, the helmet thing was an offshoot of the main side though. That was like a cult basically. So I think she's right in that regard, but the whole like, oh, you weren't born into it or oh, you're a clone means you can't be a Mandalorian. I think you have to be careful about that because she's going to see things differently.
This is a big deal for the series because Din Djarin is he's a foundling.
Yeah.
He's part of the Children of the Watch. He's not born into being a Mandalorian with that. But yet, we're going to see that he's got maybe more of a right to being a Mandalorian now than others. But that'll happen. We'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. But what did you think, BB Nate, about that moment when, they split up? You've got the awesome ladies of the Mandalorian series.
I kind of appreciated the way they did that. So I was talking with Savannah. It kind of reminded me of the scene in Endgame, when they had all like the female superheroes come together and do it. And I felt like it was a little campy the way they did it in Endgame.
Forced.
Yeah, a little forced and a little campy in Endgame. But in this, I was watching it and they were doing stuff and I was like, it was only when they got to the bridge that I was like, oh wait, that was all the girls doing it. I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah,
they
because
did it
Boba
in a
Fett's
much
gone.
Yeah, it was a much subtler way, but it was still like really cool. Like they kicked butt.
It was pretty cool because
Anyway.
Gina Carano and Katie, who obviously plays Cara Dune, and Katie Sackhoff, who plays Bo-Katan, they were like having this Twitter love fest yesterday about like hashtag squad goals and sharing photos of it and stuff like that. Which
cool.
there's part of me that was like, come on, it's not been 48 hours. That's a spoiler. And then I'm like, screw it, let them have fun with it. But they split up. Yeah. And Mando is off on his own. He's going to try to rescue Grogu, Baby Yoda.
Yeah,
Baby
close
Grogu.
off the Dark Troopers and save Baby Yoda.
And the Dark Troopers are armed and they're ready to come out. And there's this confrontation where he gets the doors sealed again, but one of them gets out first. Basically, it happens a little bit more dramatically than that. But what was it like to see the Dark Troopers really battling as last time we just saw them fly around? What was it like to see them? They
were very much dangerous on the side of combat. I mean, they just felt like henchmen in a couple episodes ago. Just go grab the kid and then fly away. But this one, they were holding their own, as we could see. And Sammy was like really worried when he kept punching Mando into the wall. I wasn't, because I'm like, it's Beskar. Nothing will happen because they've made that pretty clear in this series. But it was a little freaky, and it just shows how strong Beskar actually is.
That's an interesting take on it. Now, there was this conversation that happened a little later where they were talking about them being third generation, and Pershing, I think, is the one that had talked about it earlier. Maybe
something to that effect.
I think it was Pershing earlier. He talks about how this is the third generation. They took the human element out. They're not humans inside these.
Because that was the fatal flaw.
That was the fatal flaw. What do you think about that? Savvy, do you think that there could be moments where we see, Generation 2 or Generation 1 Dark Troopers and start to see humans in this Dark Trooper armor, maybe in Bad Batch or in one of these other series? What would you think about seeing something like that?
I mean, they've got to still be somewhere, unless they just killed them all, which I guess isn't necessarily out of range for, they're bad guys. So, just get rid of them. They didn't work the way we wanted them to. We don't care. Just be gone. We'll just keep going until we get what we want. But yeah, they could still be out there somewhere, hanging out, waiting for a new battle.
Sam, you were talking about, I lost it there. I was thinking about the next question. You mentioned something about, the fatal flaw. Explain, kind of what that's like to think about. Is this taking us back to like separatist Clone Wars, Trade Federation type thought process, or how's that work?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can understand where they're coming from. Humans make mistakes, right? Like their reaction times are slower. They've got judgment issues. So sometimes taking that out and just putting a robot brain in there makes things easier. So that you remove that element. Also, humans are pretty squishy. Right. So I mean, let's just be honest. A human couldn't punch through a blast door like those droids were able to. So I think they're just stronger in that regard too. So it makes sense as to why they're doing that. But we know the Empire used human troopers for less of an effectiveness and more of a psychological warfare. That, and they're disposable. They would take them from planets, like these children from planets. At least the First Order did. I'm not sure if the Empire did this. And then put them in the helmets. And when they go back to that planet, the parents might be, if they're rebelling, they might be scared to shoot a stormtrooper because they don't know if it's their kid, So I think that's why they kept still using humans, but the droids were superior, at least at this time.
Well, but then again, if you go back to the prequel era, the droids were a problem because they couldn't make their own decisions. as effectively as humans did, and they were easily defeated through the Jedi didn't seem to have a problem.
But this is decades in the future, so technology could have progressed pretty.
And a certain Jedi didn't seem to have a problem with.
Well, that's true. That's actually maybe a big part of this. We'll talk about that in a second. Let's go back to you, Sam. There was this moment before they go to board the Imperial cruiser where Bo-Katan is explaining to Mando what she expects from him when it comes to Moff Gideon. And, what do you think about that whole sequence and about she's got a one-track mind right now is what it sounds like.
Yeah. I mean, everything she's been doing up until this point has been to find Gideon and get the Darksaber. And she was like, I don't care what you do. Just bring Gideon to me. Have him surrender to me. I need him alive. She was very adamant about that in the beginning when they were planning stuff. So yeah, I mean, I can understand why she's frustrated. This guy, through some means, we don't know how, stole her rule of Mandalore at this point, right? I mean, it was rightfully hers to have until he somehow took it. And I don't know how, he may have taken it dishonorably and just taken the saber. I mean,
it doesn't look like he's planning on ruling Mandalore anytime soon.
Right. He just is wielding around a saber for no reason. And I don't think she likes that. So I think it was a good setup. Yeah.
Savvy, do you think that Bo-Katan's grudge with Moff Gideon is based on the Darksaber, or is it based on Moff Gideon's role in what, this is like the third time that we've heard that the Empire basically turned Mandalore to glass, is what they say. Like the heat of the destruction just turned everything to glass. Do you think her frustration or her thought process regarding Moff Gideon is based on Darksaber, or is it based on that?
That's a good question. My first reaction whenever she was explaining how much she was basically obsessed with getting Moff Gideon back, I was only thinking towards the idea of the Darksaber. Because I was like, why would she really care about him specifically? She just wants that Darksaber back. We didn't know at that point that more or less, she had to be the one to win it back in combat. I didn't realize that at the time. So I think that kind of helps make sense why she wanted to specifically be the one. But that's a good question whether or not it's specifically for the Darksaber or just to get back at him as a person. I think it's a mixture. She's definitely holding a grudge against him personally because she probably blames him for what happened, but she also has some major beef with him over hey, that's my weapon. I want it back.
BB Nate, is Mandalore salvageable from your perspective, or is this just is the planet completely destroyed, or is that just Imperial propaganda put out by Moff
I don't
Gideon
think that Bo-Katan would be trying to rule Mandalore if there was nothing to rule.
Yeah, I think
that she has kind of a reason. And so maybe Mandalore is a people, and that's what she's thinking if the planet is destroyed. But I don't think that that's really what she's thinking.
A resettled Mandalorian group or something potentially. Okay, so Savvy, let's talk a little bit about the squad gets to the bridge and there's no Moff Gideon, and then immediately it shifts to Mando getting to Baby Yoda's or Grogu's cell and opening it up, and you see him sitting there, and then there's the Darksaber hovering over him.
Sam, do you remember whenever that happened? I literally looked over at you right before the door opened, and I was like, "He's in there."
Mm-hmm.
I literally saw as soon as he got there, I was like, "Moff Gideon's in there right now." I can totally see that happening right now. He's definitely gonna be right there. And then whenever he goes in, he gives him all of this crap about oh, I don't really care about him. I just wanted his blood. I don't really care. You can take him. As soon as he started walking towards him, and he had his back towards Moff Gideon, I was like, are you really?
He was expecting
it. I mean, I know he probably was, but it definitely made my heart race a little bit. I was like, no, wait, no, that's not right. That's not how Moff Gideon acts. He's just trying to trick you.
He was so convincing for just a split second.
But he was too emotional. He's not an emotional guy. Everything he says is so matter of fact all the time, and nothing phases him. So for him to be all emotional, I was like, this isn't right.
During the second watch through, I was talking with Dad. I'm like, he is a lot like Thrawn.
Yeah.
He has very Thrawn-like tendencies.
Just kind of cold, calculating.
Yeah, knows everything, knows their enemy really, really well. And who knows? Maybe that's why he took the Darksaber as a trophy. And he understands the importance of it. But he's using it as a weapon, and it's psychological. Just as the
It's a symbol of the fact that he
Syndulla.
defeated Mandalore.
Yeah, it's
he
like
destroyed
the heirloom
Mandalore.
from Hera.
Yeah,
the family.
Yeah.
That's one of those BB-8 moments there.
But the difference between Gideon and Thrawn is Gideon is just like malevolent. I think he's just like, he likes seeing people like messed up. Like he's straight up evil. Thrawn's not a good guy, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he takes as much pleasure in seeing people like suffer as does Gideon. So
I totally bought it. I'm going to be honest.
Really?
Oh my gosh.
I was like, it makes sense. He needed the blood. He doesn't care. This is his bargaining chip. Take him. I thought I was totally thrown off when maybe that's just because I'm naive, but when he like attacked him, I'm like, holy crap, he attacked him.
Okay, also, I just thought of something. So remember how on the ship, Mando was pretty much like telling Bo-Katan, like, yeah, sure, like, I don't really care about anything except for the kid. You can have the friggin' Darksaber if you want it. Who cares? And then whenever he got in there, he was, I mean, to me, I feel like he kind of almost he was stabbing Bo-Katan in the back because, like, he wasn't going for the Darksaber. Sure, he ended up getting it, but he didn't care about it at all. He wasn't really planning.
He got it because he didn't care about it.
But like my question was during that, I was like, okay, so if he did walk away with Baby Yoda or Grogu, if he walked out of there and Moff Gideon was straight up, what would he have done? Was he going to leave everybody there and just leave?
I thought he was just going to take a TIE fighter and
that's what sold it for me, was because I believed that all that Mando cared about
was Baby Yoda,
was Grogu, and if he got to walk out of there and let Moff Gideon live,
was his mission,
then he's accomplished what he needs. Bo-Katan and the rest of those people, they can deal with Moff Gideon. I'm taking Grogu and I'm getting out of here.
Yeah, I mean, Bo-Katan was the one who needed the ship to help take back Mandalore.
He's already denied turned his back on everything that he his religion in some ways, right? He keeps taking his mask off. This is the way which dominated season 1 doesn't exist for him.
Right.
And all he cares about, and it's because of Grogu.
To be fair, he also did tell them that. He did say my only deal that I'm really working on here is getting back the kids. So it wouldn't necessarily be stabbing them in the back if that's what he ended up doing. But still, like, they're his team. He's only there because of them. Like, he needed them. It would have been kind of
And I'm
rude.
sure if it went that direction, Mando would have known that the next place that he would have gone is to get out of there. They would have gone there. That's what they would have been thinking.
Well, no, but
okay, he's not at the bridge. He's trying to escape. Immediately go to the TIE fighters. But there's no way for him to get out. The launch tube is not working.
There's 2 launch tubes on an Imperial cruiser. There's a rear and an aft, a forward and an aft launch tube. Here's the thing, though. Bo-Katan's there for one reason and one reason only. She doesn't care about Grogu.
Nope.
She doesn't care about saving Baby Yoda. She cares about Moff Gideon and the Darksaber. And that's the only reason that she agreed to go, was because he knew where Moff Gideon was. Yeah. And he needs her help, and he's willing to take her to Moff Gideon in order, if she helps him get Grogu. So they both have their own agendas at this point. Which leads us to what happens when they get to the bridge, right? Because there's this big battle and it's cool, but it doesn't really take that long. We knew it was coming, right? The Beskar staff versus the Darksaber and all of that. That happened pretty quickly. That wasn't the finale of the episode, or the ending of the episode, which is what I kind of expected. It happened, halfway through. Then they get to the bridge. And this is where that manipulative Moff Gideon starts kicking back in again, where he starts, digging at Bo-Katan. Mm-hmm. And Sam, there's this moment where Din Djarin Mando is just kind of like, here, take it. I don't care about the Darksaber. You want the Darksaber? I yield. Here, take it. And Bo-Katan rejects that. That's a huge shift in this story of the Darksaber because of what happened with Bo-Katan in season 4 of Star Wars Rebels. Explain.
Yeah, I mean, Sabine got the Darksaber. She used it for a bit and then was like, Mandalore needs a true...
She earned the Darksaber.
Right. She won it in combat. And
against Maul.
No. It was that Imperial guy.
Oh, okay.
Remember? Anyway. Right. So she had the saber, and then later on, she's like, Mandalore needs a true leader. And that's not me. So she hands the Darksaber over to Bo-Katan, and she accepts it, and that's it. That's the last we've heard about it. So it was Nathan and I were both really confused when she wouldn't take the saber from Mando. I mean, sure, Gideon explained was like, you know, the power of the Darksaber doesn't come from who has it. It's the story behind it, which makes sense. But I didn't understand why she accepted it from Sabine, but not Mando.
Yeah, Savvy, do you think that did you sense in the conversation between Moff Gideon and Bo-Katan, or the things that they were saying to Mando about the Darksaber, that there was a story there that we hadn't heard? Because there seemed to be like they were both on the same page. Moff Gideon and Bo-Katan were in total agreement over this. Did you get the impression that they knew something that we didn't know?
You could see it in her soul. He was like cutting into the deepest part of everything she cares about. Like, he really got to her. And so, I mean, yeah, there definitely was like some kind of history. How did he know so much about this Darksaber? And Mando had no idea what it was. But, you know, it definitely was like an interesting exchange between everybody.
I think why Bo-Katan accepted the saber from Sabine is because she didn't think that it mattered at that point. Maybe, we don't know what happened, but maybe she did try to rule Mandalore. She's like, I have the Darksaber, and people were like, you didn't win it in a duel. You don't have the power.
They didn't
so
follow
she
her.
lost it. Somebody took it from her in a duel. She lost it. And then somehow made its way to Moff Gideon. And she looks like she's been kind of exiled. I mean, she has 2 other Mandalorian. We don't even know where that guy went. Where did that guy went?
Yeah, he wasn't in it.
He wasn't in the episode. So 1 now. That's following her and helping her with her mission. And I think that's why she wouldn't accept it, is because she had a problem once and doesn't want to have that trouble again.
I think maybe something just kind of came to my mind whenever you're saying that, is she was kind of all talk up to that point. She was saying all the different reasons why she had to be the one to take it. No one understood why. But then once her plan didn't come through, she got real quiet, you know? Like, she didn't have anything else to say. Everything that she had been saying got ripped out from underneath her, and now she has nothing, you know?
That's a really good point. I think that not only do they have a story there, I think that Moff Gideon was part of digging that wedge between Bo-Katan and the rest of Mandalore during whatever this battle was. When he gets the Darksaber, when he conquers Mandalore, he's used her, you know, she's already, I think the point of this is she's already received this title of Mandalore through the yielding of the Darksaber to her once without her earning it.
Yeah.
And something went horribly wrong as a result of it. She can't go back to try to rule Mandalore again with that having happened a second time. She's got to earn the title of Mandalore.
I mean, I'm sure that the reason they duel for the Darksaber is to make sure that the person wielding the Darksaber
Can defend themselves.
And is more powerful than the last person that wielded it. If they're able to best them, then they're better.
That's true.
And so if she doesn't duel, then that means that we don't know if they're better than the last ruler. So, I mean,
yeah, I think you're right. You know, it's an honor shame culture. And at this point, I sense great shame in Bo-Katan and in what happened with, at the end of, or during the Galactic Civil War and what happened to Mandalore. There's a story there we need to know going forward, and we haven't heard it yet. Now, we've spent basically, you know, almost 30 minutes talking about this episode, and we've only briefly touched on it. But let's do it. All right, let's go to
Turbis the Porg was in this episode? What?
No. Someone, dare I say, even for Tatooine Sons, much greater than in the Star Wars saga than even Turbis the Porg. And that is our beloved Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
All right, walk me through what it was like for you to see. It felt like Return of the Jedi Luke Skywalker. He looked like Return of the Jedi Luke Skywalker. He had that green lightsaber. I know Steele Saunders was crying when he saw that, because he had this whole Ignite the Green campaign throughout the sequel trilogy that never came to be, because his dream was to see Luke Skywalker yield that green lightsaber again. What was it like for you guys to see all of this? We'll let ladies go first. Sabi, what was it like for you to see Luke Skywalker in live action again?
The entire time he had his hood on, of course, there was a slight doubt in my mind. What if it's not him and I'm just crazy? But as soon as he pulled it down, I knew it was going to be like this huge reveal. Because, yeah, I mean, it's like, it looks like young Luke. It doesn't really make sense at first. You're like, oh my gosh, how is that even possible? Of course, we love technology, but yeah, that was just like a huge, like, okay, what if it's not? Don't get my hopes up. Okay, it actually is him. Yay.
Was it cool to see him though, for really like back in the, and that whole sequence, Sam, the whole sequence where he's taking out the dark troopers.
Yeah.
What's this? I mean, we're not the only ones to have talked about this. It's being talked about all over. What did it feel like? Even when we were first watching it,
when he got out of the elevator there, it felt just like the hallway scene from Rogue One with Darth Vader. I mean, it felt just like it, but it wasn't. He wasn't being evil because, we talked about how it kind of helped that they were droids. The dark troopers were droids, were not people. Because if you saw Luke doing all that and they were like actual troopers, that'd be pretty messed up. Like, the stuff he was doing would be messed up, but they're droids. So we're like, yeah, get him, slice him up. So it was cool, and towards the end, I'm sure he just crushed the one just to, like, I don't know, show off or whatever.
It's for fun.
Yeah. I mean,
and that's when you first really, like, you start to realize, wait, this is no doubt Luke Skywalker, because when he reaches that hand out, it's gloved hand.
Oh, yeah. The gloved hand, whenever I saw that was also another huge tip off that it had to be him.
Yeah.
BB Nate, what was it like for you seeing Luke Skywalker, and why was this bittersweet?
Of course, it's amazing to see Luke Skywalker back in live action. That's great. I'm excited to see where it goes in the future, but I was really disappointed. I was really gunning for it to be Ezra. I didn't expect it, but you didn't expect Luke Skywalker,
right?
So we were both in the same boat. But I was disappointed that it wasn't Ezra. I had a tiny bit of hope when I saw a green lightsaber, because he did have a green lightsaber at the end of the series. But then I saw the gloved hand and I got really disappointed. And that was like, it was a great reveal, but it was disappointing for me and kind of like, it's a little bit of a letdown.
Yeah. I think that's really an interesting, dynamic to bring to the conversation about this moment, because for, us 40-year-olds, guys in our sweaty guys in our parents' basement type, that idea of the Star Wars fan that grew up with the original trilogy and that type of thing. Seeing Luke Skywalker is the ultimate moment for us. But for you guys, what did you think about it, Sam? You're a big Ezra Bridger fan. Did you have any, like, anything for you that way?
I've always been of the camp that's, I think that we're not going to see Ezra until the Ahsoka series. Okay. I think that's what the plot of it is. She's looking for Thrawn, looking for Ezra, and that's what's going on. So I wasn't expecting to see him. I would have been thrilled to have seen him, but I was never really holding out hope for it or anything. I think Luke works. I think it makes more sense as to training Baby Yoda. That's just what Luke's mission has been after episode 6. So I think it makes sense, but I would have loved to see Ezra, but I wasn't holding out hope.
But it's neat. It's interesting because for BB Nate, it was a disappointment. And I'm wondering if for other fans that grew up your age frame, where Star Wars was Disney era. And so Luke Skywalker was part of your dad's Star Wars. I mean, you like the original trilogy. Return of the Jedi is your favorite one of the original trilogy movies, without a doubt. But your Star Wars you're much more emotionally connected to Ezra Bridger than you are to Luke Skywalker. Is that correct?
Rebels is my thing when it comes to Star Wars.
So when there's a possibility that it could have been Ezra and it ends up being Luke, your perspective and your reaction to it is very different than Steele Saunders, whose favorite movie in all Star Wars is Return of the Jedi, and his favorite character is Luke Skywalker. And I think that's an interesting way of looking at Star Wars.
Just the thing is, I've been one of those people. I love the Skywalker saga. I'm happy they did the sequel trilogy and everything, but I'm one of those people that I'm like, give it a rest.
Okay.
We've milked the cow enough. Let the other characters from Rebels, let new characters, all that kind of stuff. And they are starting to do that, which is great. But I wanted the smaller characters that kind of took a back seat during the whole sequel trilogy and prequel trilogy to kind of get pushed to the front. And they are, but I was just like, and the thing that disappointed me more, I'm like, okay, they just brought in Luke Skywalker again. And I'm like, I kind of was hoping for that not to happen.
Yeah. Well, we've got a lot more to talk about. And really the future of the Mandalorian is up in the air. And so we've got lots of questions that need to be answered. We're going to do that. But before that, we're going to go over our poll from our prediction episode and, maybe even get, I don't know, one of our most special reviews in the history of the show. That'll be up after this break. This is Tatooine Sons.
Are you brainless? I never ask that question until after I've done it. What?
All right. Last week's it was like our special episode, podcast poll of the week, which wasn't for a week. It was like 24 hours. But anyway, what's your prediction for season 2 finale of The Mandalorian? We had 4 options that were on there. Mando is headed to Camino. That was the one I was most convinced was actually going to happen. Thrawn is the big baddie. I thought that was probably going to happen as well. A Jedi will save Grogu. That was kind of ambiguous and
it was
vague.
pretty general.
That was what I thought was going to happen.
And then other comment below always gets the lowest when we do these. So 12.7%. Then we had Mando is headed to Camino. Thrawn is the big baddie. Only got 15.2%. Mando is headed to Camino, got 24.1%. And the winner of last week's podcast poll was a Jedi will save Grogu. We didn't say specifically, and we might have had more fun with it if we had said specifically Luke Skywalker or something like that. But any surprises on the poll numbers there?
No, it seems pretty logical.
Yeah, cool.
I side with it.
All right. This week's poll is going to be real simple. Season 3 of The Mandalorian will pick up right where we left off. Will be the Book of Boba Fett. There we go, Nate. Sam, we can talk about that. Or we'll have
I can disprove that right now.
We'll have a significant time jump. That's a possibility. Some people are thinking we could be going 4 or 5 years in the future
after Grogu's already trained
and coming back. Yeah. Or other comment below. Which would you pick between those? Let's start with you, Miss Savvy.
Can you come back to me?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's going to pick up right where we left off. Well, okay. I'm like right in between the pickup right where we left off and have a significant time jump. I think there will be a time jump, but I'm thinking maybe a year tops.
Okay. So not like 5-10 years or something like that.
No, not even close.
All right. And you're not, neither of you, maybe Nate or Samuel Ahead, are convinced that that season 3 is actually the Book of Boba Fett. That's one of the theories that's out there.
Never thought that.
It's not.
Okay. Explain.
A former Lucasfilm employee said, from what I understand from when I was working there, the Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian Season 3 have different shooting schedules. Also, Pedro Pascal has signed on for Mandalorian Season 3. So I don't think that we will.
That might answer that question.
Yeah.
That's cool. Overall, let's just do this while we're here. We're talking Book of Boba Fett. Give me your thoughts. What was it like to see Boba Fett take Jabba's throne?
I am glad that Boba's back to the kind of bad guy we know him as. I liked him in Mando. Don't get me wrong. I liked that he had, for lack of a better term, honor, or at least he held to a code.
He always has.
There's something to be said about that. But he's been a bad guy from the beginning, let's just be honest. And I'm kind of glad he's back to that point. Now he's a crime lord, like the crime lord of the underworld at this point. I kind of like it.
He sort of says, I'm tired of taking people's orders. I'm going to be in charge now. Yeah. Savannah, what did you think about this? Is it going to be a time jump? Is it going to be Book of Boba Fett? Where you land on that one?
I agree that it's not the Book of Boba Fett. As soon as I saw that at the end, I honestly thought movie.
Okay.
That's the first thing I thought.
Either a Disney Plus movie or something like that?
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought. It doesn't have to be accurate. It might be another series. But that's the first thing that went through my mind is, oh my gosh, what if it's another movie and it's like a movie about Boba Fett? That would be cool to me. I don't know. I'm kind of with you. I'm in between the whole time thing. I don't think it's going to pick up right where it left off because... what are they going to do next? I think they all need to take time to
take a road trip. Yeah,
like they're just going to be.
That's what it's been the whole series.
A side quest is what's next.
Yeah, it would literally be a whole side quest before they get to something else. Because I don't know. Moff Gideon, he's going away. What are we going to do next? We need some time to consider what to do next with.
Yeah, there's all these questions, and we're going to have to answer those. But before that, we got another review.
Can I speak my mind to this poll?
No, I don't really care about your opinions. Oh no, go ahead, BB.
I do think that there will be a time jump, a significant one, because I think that Book of Boba Fett will bridge that. That's why they're having it.
He's a smart kid.
They're having it released same time, so you're not confused as to what happened before. So that's just why I think that it will be. And also, Pedro Pascal's stunt double came out and said, "Don't believe everything you read. Pedro Pascal is returning from Mandalorian Season 3.
All right, so we got a review. This will be 2 weeks in a row that we've had reviews.
Wow, y'all are really going.
And there was a challenge that was put out on the last episode because Savvy hadn't given a review yet. And so we were like, it would be tough to beat it. So if you can't beat it, don't put one out. But I think she's taken up the challenge, and she's actually going to read her review right now on the show. for herself. This is a first for us. We've never had a review read by the reviewer. So
Wow.
I'm waiting with bated breath. Let's do this.
Well, don't hype it up too much. I could have gone on for like a whole book, but I decided to just try to keep it short and sweet. Emphasis on the sweet, though. Okay, so the title, I wish I could give this podcast 6 stars.
Aww, that's on.
The search for the best Star Wars podcast ever is over. This father-son team at Tatooine Sons brings a fascinating perspective to all your favorite Star Wars stories. Their knowledge is evident and will keep you coming back for more.
Oh, that's awesome. You know, you should like start a business where you do nothing but write reviews.
Oh my gosh, I would love that.
That would be pretty awesome. I mean, they wouldn't be accurate, but
Impressive. Every word in that sentence was wrong.
like that one's probably not all
I'm
that
very
accurate.
good at biased reviews.
That was a
I
biased
do it quite
review,
often.
right? You know, that's pretty awesome. All right. Well,
Thank you.
You're welcome.
that was it. All right. We've got 6 questions coming. I could probably come up with 60, but we're going to try to answer these 6 after this break. We're going to take up the challenge for that. This is Tatooine Sons. All right. There's both good news and bad news from the season 2 finale of The Mandalorian. The good news is that we don't have a massive cliffhanger where Baby Yoda was left in the clutches of an evil Imperial warlord. Grogu. Sorry, Baby Yoda. The bad news is there are still more questions than answers about Mando, Baby Yoda,
Grogu,
and Bo-Katan, and even the future of the show.
Bulky religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid.
Rebellions are built on hope.
Force is with me, and I am with the Force.
If you live long enough, you see the same eyes in different people.
All right, let's start with this first big question. I'm going to start with you, Samuelette.
Yes.
What's up next for Mando? Now that this has all happened, where are we going from here?
Yeah, I think I've said this from the beginning after watching the episode. I think what's going to happen now is Mando's season 3 is going to shift. The previous 2 seasons have been about Mando saving and protecting Baby Yoda. That's been the story. And he's gone. He's with Luke now. He's safe for the moment.
R2.
Right. So Mando doesn't have a purpose at this point. I don't think he's going to go back to bounty hunting. I think he's done with that. He's kind of rejected that whole lifestyle at this point. Plus, he doesn't have a ship. I think what's going to happen is he's going to go with Bo-Katan, because they mentioned it at the beginning. Bo-Katan's like, you should join us in this mission. He's going to go with Bo-Katan, since he's got the Darksaber now, and he's going to help reclaim Mandalore. And season 3 is going to be more about his struggle with his identity. Is he a Mandalorian? Is he not? What does he do with the Darksaber? There's going to probably be a bit of a power struggle between him and Bo-Katan. So I think that's what season 3 is going to be about.
What about you, Savi? What do you think?
I agree.
Okay. All right. That was easy. Hey, this is good. You two are on the same page. All right,
Yes.
let's go. So,
I really do think, I always thought it was going to be a power struggle between Bo-Katan and Mando. It's actually now going to be about the Mandalorian, not Grogu.
He's actually the Mandalorian
now. So I think that they are going to try to go and reclaim Mandalore if they haven't already. If it's a time jump, they most likely already have, or they're gathering an army. Maybe we see Sabine and
you want to see a conquest of
Mandalore? Like everyone,
fun.
like a giant battle or rushing, like a Lord of the Rings kind of type thing. But I think that they are going to reclaim Mandalore. I think there will be a huge power struggle between Bo-Katan and Mandalorian. And I think at the end of the series, we see them duel it out for the Darksaber.
Yeah, that's interesting because we've got, Bo-Katan, we mentioned it earlier, her focus throughout this series or this season, obviously that's all we had her for, has been get to Moff Gideon, conquer him, win back the Darksaber. And now all of that is up in the air. It's in question now. What's she going to do now that Gideon is in the custody of the New Republic and Mando has custody or has control of the Darksaber? What do you think, Savannah?
She definitely had probably been thinking about exactly what was going to happen for who knows how long. She had this planned out. She was obsessing over it. Now that it's not happening the way that she had planned it, she's probably freaking out. I would.
So
be
you're
too.
basically saying that Bo-Katan is the stereotypical Star Wars fan.
Yes.
She has all of her expectations that have now gone completely blown away, and she doesn't know how to function.
Yeah.
Wow.
I really do hate that for her. I hope she figures it out.
What do you think about that, BB Nate?
Oh, I mean, she doesn't care about Moff Gideon anymore. The only reason she cared about Moff Gideon was the Darksaber.
Yep.
So I wouldn't say that she cared about Moff Gideon. She cared about the Darksaber, just Moff Gideon was in custody of it. So now that Mando's in custody, I think she feels like it's in better hands now, but I do think that she's still frustrated that it's not with her. And of course, I'm not saying that's a problem. She does have the right. She is the next in line to be the ruler of Mandalore, but she doesn't have the Darksaber, which means that she isn't the Mandalore. So I think that there is going to be the fact that Mando will always be, I don't want this, you should have it. I don't think he'll get power hungry or anything. That's just not him.
For a second, I thought we were gonna have a Lord of the Rings moment, and he was gonna, like turn him or whatever, and he's like, "This is mine now."
My precious.
Right.
So,
That was good.
yes. Oh, sorry. That was getting weird there.
My precious.
Yes.
Stupid fat habit.
Well,
Sorry.
okay, that one was actually good.
Yeah, I had to get it worked up. All right, you were going to say something,
Gotta get the
Savannah.
spittle up there.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that totally threw me
Sorry,
off.
he was talking about surrendering the
Darksaber.
and
Okay, yeah, so that's kind of where my brain was going to, like what Sammy said, like, what if all of a sudden Mando's like, yeah, I am in charge, so all of you can, just deal with it. He didn't do that, though, so I think that's very honorable, and I think that Bo-Katan's going to be able to, like, see that and be like, okay, it's not like he just decided, you know what, it sucks to be you right now, like, I'm in charge now. But at the same time, like we've talked about, she is kind of the rightful person to have it, and she's going to have an issue, like, hey, you're a freaking foundling, like, who said you could wield that? I should be able to still, like, I definitely think she's going to try to get over it, but I don't think she's going to.
Do you think that they're setting up I'm not talking about, like, tension between Bo-Katan and Mando. I'm talking about all out her obsession with becoming the Mandalore, taking rulership over her people, getting that Darksaber back under her control is going to create significant conflict. Even, can we say, civil, she's going to look at Mando and say, you're a youngling.
Foundling.
A foundling, whatever they are. The younglings are the dead ones in the temple. Is that
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Too soon.
It's always too soon. Except Grogu, he got out.
Good for him.
With R2.
Oh, do you think it was R2? Do you think that R2 and Grogu know each other?
I think they know
yes,
each other
yes,
for
100%.
sure.
Because he was all like holding on to Mando's leg and then heard R2 and like ran over to him.
Wait a sec.
And
And
R2
R2,
like
did the little
pulled
wobble
up its
thing.
leg and like looked down at it and it's like, wait, he's alive.
Yeah, it seemed like they had recognized each other. Do you think that we're going to see a Children of the Watch Mando-led faction at war with a Bo-Katan, pure blood Mandalorian faction for the control of the Darksaber and Mandalore?
Well, I think for that, Mando's got to change his mind and be like, oh, wait, no, I want this now, and start leading. I don't think he's going to do that. I think he's going to stay the way he is. I think they're going to find some loophole and give it to him. Maybe what'll end up happening is instead of them winning in combat, say she ends up somehow saving Mando's life, and in turn Mando gives her the saber as like, you've saved
A life
me,
debt kind of
like
thing.
a life debt sort of thing. I think that could be a bit of a loophole that could work without them having to be
So is
at
this
each
just going
other's
to be like a
throat.
comedy season where he keeps trying to get himself in trouble? You're taking it.
Oh no, I'm falling off the cliff.
Excuse me. I think this entire series, based on the title of the series,
is him
becoming the Mandalore. And he had to go through the Grogu stuff in season 1, Baby Yoda stuff in season 1, to learn how to have compassion and love, and to begin to separate himself from bounty hunter stuff. Season 2 was him to continue to move down that, but also to learn about maybe this creed, this is the way stuff isn't really the way. Now he's got control of the Darksaber, and the season 3 is going to be him about learning what it means. He doesn't want to rule. He doesn't want to lead, but he can't go back. to being what he wasn't. And he's going to start seeing that somebody has to take this leadership role, and he's going to be forcing him. It's going to be forced on him because he has the Darksaber. And then season 4 is this big conflict, this big battle over who the Mandalore is. And I think it's going to be Bo-Katan. I think you're getting a Mandalore this is Dave Filoni, guys. Dave Filoni wrote the lore about the great civil wars within Mandalore. This is the great civil war happening again. Do we think that Filoni
makes... It kind of gives me like Game of Thrones vibes.
Do we think that Filoni makes Bo-Katan a bad guy?
Wouldn't that be the coolest thing for him to do?
More antagonist, I think.
I don't know.
I think that she's going to... she's going to be able to make an argument for why she's the good guy.
Yeah.
It's going to be gray. It's going to be, she's Bo-Katan. She's Duchess Satine's sister. She's ruled Mandalore before. She's been with them this whole time. She's pure-blooded Mandalorian. She's got the support of this whole faction. And then you've got Din Djarin, who won this Darksaber in battle against the one that defeated Mandalore. And he deserves the leadership role. And this group of children of the Watch and the younglings and this whole, this is the way people, families. And they're both going to have legitimate arguments, and it's going to create a civil war.
Do you think we'll have like among fans a bit of like a Captain America Civil War thing, like Team Cap, Team?
And I'm excited about
Tony.
I
would be totally cool with that.
I'm all for Mando.
I would be with Mando too, but I mean, it's interesting.
And then all these fanboys that were like, "Oh, we get to see Bo-Katan in live action."
Your Clone Wars people
are going to side with Bo-Katan.
The fans are going to side with Bo-Katan, and your those that aren't as into us, Rebels and stuff like that, and sequel trilogy and Mandalorian fans, they're going to side with,
or even OT fans.
Din Djarin. It's going to be really interesting. Who's the bad guy in this series now? Moff Gideon's captured. He's being sent off with Cara Dune to a Republic prison.
I feel like we've kind of established what we all want.
Do you think it really could happen?
I think it's Bo-Katan. Yeah,
I think it.
She's not into the Thrawn stuff, so Savannah's she's bowing out. She's like, I'm tapping out on this question. Okay, go.
No, I think I really like the idea where you're going with it. I think it makes sense. I think it's the next like logical step in the series. And that way there's not a bad guy. You save Thrawn for the Ahsoka series, and then you've got this conflict and this struggle, but you don't need to bring in a new bad guy or something. It's just you twist the characters a bit.
Nate, you think Thrawn's coming?
Not in Mandalorian.
Okay.
In Ahsoka, yes. I'm fully expecting that. That's going to be the story. Thrawn and Ezra and Ahsoka and Sabine and all that kind of stuff. But I do think that Bo-Katan could be the antagonist of this next movie. Series.
Yeah, the season and the rest of the series.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting.
Well,
all right, Savvy, there's a whole storyline from season 2. It was teased a little bit in season 1. It was really developed in season 2. And your favorite Star Wars film, as we established on the last episode, is Attack of the Clones. And this cloning stuff was really brought into this season and then just sort of forgotten. I haven't heard anybody on these review episodes talking about the cloning stuff.
I have the blood now. Like, what?
Yeah. Do you think that we're going to see this continue to be developed in future seasons?
Yeah, you never know. I guess I am going to go a little bit back to the last question.
Go for it.
You never know who else was like right under Moff Gideon. And somebody's going to step up and take over this whole cloning process, because I'm sure they're not going to be like, oh, Moff Gideon's dead. Let's just throw away this blood we fought so hard to get. They're still going to be looking for something to do with it. Someone's going to step up. They've still got, wherever it is, they've still got it going somewhere. They've still got all these scientists, I'm sure, working on it. It's not like they're just going to be like, oh, well, I guess it's just time to take a little vacation until someone tells us what to do. Like, there's going to be somebody working on it, and definitely don't know what it's going to be, but it could go any direction.
Yeah. Samuel, the Bad Batch teaser that was given to us a week and a half ago, shows them going back to Kamino in multiple sequences with it. So they're bringing Kamino back into consciousness again. And it's going to happen this year with the release of Bad Batch. Do you think that we see season 3 of The Mandalorian having something to do with having something to do with Kamino and the cloning and trying to uncover what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I think they have to continue this cloning storyline. We know that that's what ends up happening with Palpatine. That's how Palpatine comes back. And that's still 20, 30 years in the future at this point. So they've still got plenty of time to flesh out that story. So I think there's still something to come from that. Now, whether that comes from Baby Yoda's blood, all the way through, I'm not sure. But I think that there's still something to be said about this cloning storyline that they're not done telling yet.
Maybe Nate, are they going to clone Baby Yoda? Kamino?
I don't think so. I think the only reason they're trying to get this is for Palpatine. And so I really don't know where it could go. Either this blood is going to be used for the shell we saw in Rise of Skywalker that's degrading it by that point, or it's going to be used for a couple of the failed ones. Snoke and Rey's daddy.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. I don't think Dr. Pershing is going to have anything to do with this, because you can tell that if Cara Dune knows what she's doing, he's been taken back to the New Republic.
Yeah, I think they could turn him, though. I think that he's a scientist. He's a scientist that's been employed by the Empire, and he knows what's going on. He didn't want to hurt Grogu. He saw what the Imperial pilot was willing to do to him just to protect what was going on, which is a crazy sequence. And here's the other thing. There's 2 different times now in this season. One of them succeeded, one of them failed, where an Imperial was getting ready to be captured. And, you know, in the Bo-Katan episode, chapter 12? Chapter 11. Chapter 11, that commander or that captain or whatever killed himself with you know, like the
cyanide pill in Star Wars,
the electric cyanide pill. And this started to happen with Moff Gideon. Moff Gideon has information that he doesn't want to get out.
And that's why Cara Dune wanted him.
And that's why Cara Dune stopped him from doing it. Dr. Pershing has the same information. He knows probably more than Moff Gideon. And I don't think he's got a whole lot of loyalty right now.
I mean, he was so easily, he just
yeah,
gave
he's
away
he's
all
like,
of his
here's where
the
Moff
dark
Gideon
troopers
is. This is where the
work.
dark. Exactly. I think he's, I tweeted out to him earlier in the season, and he liked this tweet, so it's like our claim to fame right now.
Especially with, I mean, we had it with John Boyega, and
it did, and it was right. We said before Rise of Skywalker that John Boyega was going to be a Jedi, and we made an argument for it, and he liked that tweet. Well, we tweeted out this season, that Dr. Pershing is the Rosetta Stone of the sequel trilogy, and he liked that tweet. I think we're going to see some more about him in season 3 on it. This might not take a long time to talk about, but will we ever see Luke Skywalker in live action again? Let's go with you first, BB Nate.
Maybe. Do I think we see him for a long time? No, because we could tell they didn't have the de-aging tech down to a science quite yet, and I think that was on purpose. They didn't show him for very long, and they didn't work on it for very long because they didn't expect to use it very much. I think we might see him again sometime later in the future, bring him back, Grogu, or in like a little bit of a, hi, here's your kid back.
Just a real small sequence.
Yes. But I don't think we'll see anything more that like a series. I don't think we could do that.
What'd you think about the technology behind the Luke Skywalker appearance, the CGI? What was your thoughts on that, Savi?
Could be better, could be worse.
Okay. Kind of like what we've seen with most of the de-aging we've seen.
I mean, you can tell it's not the person, but I mean, that's impossible, obviously.
It's frustrating to me because we saw fantastic de-aging work in Captain Marvel with Samuel L. Jackson. Nick Fury played young Nick Fury.
I don't think they de-aged
him.
I thought that was just makeup.
It was him doing it, but they de-aged him.
I thought it was just hair and makeup.
No, they de-aged him in it.
And gave him an eye.
This one, they had a different actor, and they created the de-aging like they've done with some other stuff.
Like Tarkin.
Like Tarkin and such. And then Mark Hamill voiced it, which was awesome, by the way, to hear Mark Hamill voice. I love what he tweeted out.
Oh, yeah,
that
I would
day.
be mad if they used someone else's voice. Like, there's no reason for that.
Yeah, it was fun to see.
I mean, he is a voice actor.
Did you watch anything on TV lately? Anything good on TV lately? Yeah, that's what he talked about. Samuel the Hutt, Luke Skywalker is such a critical character. He is Star Wars for so many fans. Do you think this hurts the franchise or helps the franchise by bringing him back in these little moments?
I don't think it really makes much of a difference if you leave him in these small moments. I don't think they're going to bring him in, they're going to bring him into anything major anytime soon. I think that they've got to leave it as these little things just because they frankly don't have the technology right now. Also, they don't want to keep fleshing out that story too much at the moment. Again, like Nathan said, I think fans are starting to kind of get away from the Skywalker saga a bit. Not saying that there aren't people who want more Luke. Steele Saunders is one of them. But I think that they're going to leave him in these small moments. It'll be great for the fans. It helps. It helped drive the story forward in a good way. But I think that's going to basically be his role.
I think that putting Luke Skywalker in these little moments is a great way to kind of help usher the Skywalker saga into this new area of how Star Wars is going to be. Kind of just like letting everybody down soft from the Skywalker saga.
My favorite part, though, about Luke Skywalker's appearance was the fact that he walks onto this Imperial cruiser bridge, right? He finally gets in there. He lands his X-Wing, and there's all these dark troopers, and he's like, all right. And he starts mowing them all down, and he has some fun, and it's Rogue One, but light side version, with it. And I cannot wait. I'm almost certain Adam Lance Garcia is going to create that side to side video. He did this before with Empire Strikes Back and The Last Jedi of different sequences. I'm sure you're going to see Dark. Did I just do a Dark Vader? I just did a Darth Vader in Rogue One and Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian side by side going down that hallway, mowing down their enemies and such. But then he gets on the destroyer or the cruiser's bridge, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a couple Mandalorians. There's a shock trooper. There's like 3 Mandalorians. There's a shock trooper.
There's a bounty hunter. There's an assassin in Fennec. There's a Moff,
a freaking Moff
on the ground,
cosplaying as his dad, and he doesn't acknowledge any of it.
Nope.
He's just like,
that's the kid.
I'm here for the baby.
That's
See
all.
I'm out of here. He's going to come with me. Let's go. And he just leaves them all. And it's just kind of like, I felt a little bit like everybody on the bridge going, what? That's Luke Skywalker. And he just walked out the door. What do we do with this thing?
He's like, this is not my business. I don't want nothing to do with this.
All right. Last question and I'm going to let you go first, Savvy. Is Grogu really gone?
I think for the time being, probably, but there is that, that little line where, Mando promises him that he will see him again. So that makes me wonder when we will see him again. Will we see it? Will we just get like a little scrapbook picture, in the corner of a screen sometime or something like that?
They're going to hologram each other once in a while for birthdays and Christmas or Life Day, for birthdays and Life Day. So
right. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to get my hopes up about seeing him again anytime soon, so that then it'll be a nice surprise if I do see him.
That's good. Sam, Nate, let's go with you. What do you think? We're going to see Grogu again?
Most certainly. I mean, it's too much of a cash grab to just get rid of him.
Just let him go straight to the money. That's BB Nate. Right? So.
I mean, if they do, more power to them because they got rid of something that was great for them. And so
it takes guts. It takes guts that they're going to do this next. I mean, they're going to go a period of time without Grogu. Takes significant confidence.
That was kind of carrying the series. And you have to think, without Baby Yoda, this series would have been dark. So they have to find other ways to put in comedic moments without Grogu being cute.
That's interesting.
So
Samuel Hutt, we experienced a very lighthearted season. I mean, it had its moments, but lighthearted season 1 of Star Wars Rebels. And then it started to get darker in season 2 to where season 3 and season 4 got really dark at times.
Really
it matured along with its viewers. Do you feel like that's what we could be seeing with this? And does that mean that they had to get rid of Baby Yoda for a while?
Yeah, I think that's logical. I think that episode, the last episode before this one, that didn't have any Baby Yoda, I think that was like a little bit of a primer.
This is going to happen in the future.
Right, like get used to it. And honestly, I didn't even notice it until other people started pointing it out. I was like, oh wait, Baby Yoda wasn't in that. So I think they can pull it off. They pulled it off with that episode. It had a different feel for sure, but I think that they can pull it off, and I think this show will get darker and will explore different themes.
Could you imagine what it would be like, though, if in season 3 Mando goes to Camino and he walks into this, goes down these corridors, he's maybe battling and all this other stuff, and then he defeats he gets to his wherever he wants to go, and he opens it up, and there's all those cloning cylinders, and
they're all full of like little
Baby Yodas.
Grogus.
That would be pretty bizarre, wild, crazy.
And then what does he do? Does he...
exactly. What is one of them, baby? Is one of them really Grogu?
Is one of them really Grogu? What does he do with them? Yeah. Are they creating like an army of these super-powered Force users? Does he somehow do out of the good of his heart
Folks,
to get
I'm just
rid of
letting
them?
you know right now, if you're a Legends fan, you're loving what I'm talking about right now. So, all right. Well, let's, there's so much more. We could talk about this for another hour probably, but we need to close this episode up. So anything else you guys want to talk about?
Anything else?
Well, wouldn't you know that StarWars.com is releasing a series of featurettes for the 40th anniversary of The Empire Strikes Back?
Yeah, those are a lot of fun.
They are. And
they were probably going to release a bunch of this stuff at Celebration, but they didn't get it.
And an Imperial officer's taunt on the Mandalorian season finale put a dark twist on the Death Star contractors discussion from Kevin Smith's Clerks.
Yeah, they're the rebellion were terrorists.
They kind of were.
And anyway, I don't want to go any further because I don't want to turn this into a political thing. All right. Samuel, you got some sad news.
Yeah, a little bit of a somber note, but Jeremy Bulloch, the original Boba Fett actor in episode 5 and 6, died at 75 earlier this week.
You got to meet Jeremy a couple 3 years ago.
My backpack with his signature on it is in my room right now.
Yeah, and you got the picture in our studio
where I was all awkward and I was standing like 2 feet away from him.
You were totally intent,
right?
Like intimidated
and by the
situation.
braces and everything. Yeah,
Jeremy Bulloch was one of the sweetest men that you in Star Wars we've ever.
I mean,
met.
I was in that line for 2 hours just because he took his time with every fan. Really making sure he made an impact with them. It was really cool.
And he's completely opposite of Boba Fett. He's such a sweet, kind.
It's funny how the sweet people normally play villains.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Well, that's been fun. Savannah, it's been awesome having you on these past few episodes. We'll have to do it again sometime. I think you're going to be coming down to Orlando. You'll actually get to be in studio with us. Like instead of us bringing our gear to Alabama, you'll be coming to Orlando. We maybe do some live stuff from Galaxy's Edge. We could do some video stuff, and you can help us take some really cool pictures because you're really good. That.
I'll be taking all the pictures.
That'll be fun.
She can finally experience Oga's.
Oh yeah, we get to Oga's Cantina.
Yes, very excited. Yeah, I can get new headshots of all of you.
There we go.
Yes.
All right, we'll go to
free.
I got good ideas, but she's gonna have better. So yeah, that's awesome. Well, make sure you guys check out our we've got a flow link, flow.page.Tatooine Sons, SONS. It's got all of our stuff about our shirts and subscribing to our show and all that other fun stuff. What did I do something?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. I'm feeling old at this point. And we want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you for listening to the show as well. And spend time with your family.
Happy Boxing Day.
Happy Boxing.
For Dominic Jones and our friends up in Canada.
Yeah.
Happy Boxing Day.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm trying to remember where that comes from, but anyway.
I remember looking it up and it made sense when I looked it up, but I just can't.
What do you got planned for the Christmas Day, Miss Savannah?
Well, all my family will come to my house and we'll have our family Christmas time. We'll have dinner together, all that fun stuff.
That's cool.
And I think we're probably going to go watch the new Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
hopefully.
that's pretty cool.
It's very exciting.
That's awesome. We'll probably watch it sometime that weekend. If we don't watch it on HBO Max, we'll watch it in the theater.
I will not spoil
Maybe we can
anything.
say it a day early. Just joking. We'll be tied up Christmas Eve.
Yeah. We've got a busy Christmas Eve. So thank you guys so much. Anything else you guys want to say?
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you always.
This party's over.
I like that Wookiee.
Don't get technical with me.